Hey brothers, Dimitri here today for this live, and I thank you, those who have answered the poll about what content you want to see in the group, because it helps me interact in a way that makes sense in the brotherhood. So thank you guys. If you haven't answered the poll yet, it's still there. Please do so that I know what you guys want to hear about and how we can proceed and act in harmony together. And what came out is the moral and social implications of pornography in society was at the top entry in the poll. And it's kind of fun because this is the thing that I know the least about. And the reason for that is that I do not have a moral take on pornography. A few months ago, I realized that I don't really know what morality means anyway. I don't really have a sense of morality. I don't know what is moral or what is not. So I looked it up, and so that someone tells me what is moral and what is not. And what I realized that you probably know, or that you may not know, is that morality is subjective. It's that where any action can be justifiable or not justifiable depending on your moral framework. So it didn't really give me a rule. So the rule I went by is that if it feels aligned and if it feels when I act from the heart it works, then it is moral. If it's not, it's not. Which is not a good rule, but it's what I've come up with for myself, at least so far. Yes, and most groups that work with pornography or healing for pornography, they have a moral take on it. They blame pornography and it should be suppressed and it's evil and all these things. And it's not my take on pornography. Pornography is such a complex object. It's a conglomeration of so many various sources. You'll have gonzo pornography by the big industrials. You'll have amateur pornography from someone in their bedroom. You'd have hentai. You'd have a 17-year-old girl in her living room or in her bedroom. You'd have three friends who just decided to fuck in front of camera. There's so many various sources. You'd have BDSM people doing debrief, whatever it is. So it is really hard to judge as such. Any of these single production sources have different moral implications. So my take on it is that as a consumer, the consumer should never be judged, and they should never be stigmatized, and they should never be blamed for consuming pornography, because it's just adding another layer of guilt. And what we're trying to do is to get rid of the guilt, to be free and act of our own intent. However, there is, I believe, a moral debate about the production of pornography, and that debate comes obviously around consent. But not only, if you think about a 17-year-old girl doing a webcam in her bedroom, or let's say a 15-year-old girl, there's lots of morality there, and there are things that are bad, and there are also things that are good, I think, which we can debate. What is it, guys? What is it for you? Tell us in a comment. What is good about a 15-year-old girl doing a cam in her bedroom, and what is bad about it? So yeah, it can be a drive as a consumer if you want to stop pornography. It can be a drive to add a moral judgment on it and to help you go away from it. But the passion generally is so strong that any concept of morality just gets blasted away completely when it comes to going into it and consuming pornography, because this is a concept of the inner adult. It's a moral concept. No one cares about a moral concept when you're this animal beast who's craving whatever impulse you're craving. So I just wanted to open the debate on that. I really not looked much into the consequences of pornography, the stats. There's some stats that are interesting, but I'm really interested about the individual. It is a matter of public health issue. It is a public health issue, but it's not. I personally don't care about how big it is. The numbers will be biased. It will be incomplete. Whatever is depicted in the surveys will not describe the reality of someone who's addicted to pornography or someone who's just consuming pornography as too narrow, it's too biased, it's too stereotyped. So it doesn't really interest me. But it's great. If it interests you, then, let us know what you know. Two things I want to share. The only time I looked into it, and when I was wanting to stop pornography, and I was like, maybe the moral lever is going to help me. And so I looked into it, and there's two documentaries I came across, which are both bad, unfortunately, but maybe you'll find them interesting. The first one is a series called The Dark Side of Porn, which is 10 episodes on various aspects of pornography, which are all pretty boring, honestly. And the message is not clear, but, maybe you'll have a different opinion. And the second one is quite interesting because it is also poorly done, but it's called, what's the name? Yeah, graphic sexual horror. And it's about a chain of BDSM content producers and how they produce their content. And I think the horror refers to the sexual content that is depicted from these guys, which, it's just sexual content. It may be intense, maybe extreme, but it's just sexual content. But what was horrific, though, is should I tell you? I think I should tell you. Is the lack of consent that they had from the actresses who were really desperate, and they were pushing them to the edge in non-consensual edge play, which is not okay in my moral framework. So yeah, I'm just opening the debate. What is it for you guys? Is the moral impact something that you care about? Do you think pornography is moral, is not moral? What about this 15-year-old girl in front of a camera? What about the big industries? What about three friends who decide to do a porno on a Sunday afternoon? How does that feel for you guys? What is fair? What is not fair? What is moral? What is not moral? Let us know. It's interesting. Cheers.